Welcome to the first episode of Junto Club. My name is Michael Petnati, and every week I'll be discussing current events, philosophy, and whatever else might interest us with my friends Matt O'Brien and Chu Zhang. We are three robotics PhD students who bonded over mutual suffering, introspective discussions, and cheap Chinese food. On this episode, we discuss our motivations for doing the podcast, its theme, interesting business ventures, and what can make death go from bad to worse. This is Junto Club.
Junto Club.
All right, so I guess I can start as a motivation as we talked about last time. The reason I want to do this because I want to learn from you guys based on our previous lunchtime discussions. I feel like I learned a lot from you guys based on usually a lot of not misconception. I was in my own bubble of especially political views, and then you guys have a good opinions on stuff that maybe double think okay, maybe this is wrong. Basically made me think differently. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So that's one motivation. Yeah. And then this is kind of try to bring that back kind of sort of way, right? So yeah.
My motivation is to teach Shu.
All right.
Come on, Mike.
Thank you, Sensei.
No.
I'm largely with Shu on this. I mean, also I've been, largely locked up for like 9 months now, so it's good to have some social interaction. But, definitely feel like we all get into patterns of like seeing, the consuming content that already agrees with what you think and stuff. So hopefully we can challenge each other, bring some different perspectives in, keep things interesting.
No, I mean, I guess I agree with all of that. I mean, social and, I guess we should provide some larger context should anyone actually listen to this who's not familiar with who we are. But basically, we're three PhD robotics students who used to have lunch together.
Oh, that's right. And a very cheap Chinese joint.
That's right. Which...
It's called Pacific Grill. And
free plug, Shu. Come on.
She's actually getting sponsored.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's why I was we were talking about the motivation, and I was looking around like what's the theme, right? We want to come up with a theme, and then a name to call this podcast, and then somehow I talk about the Junto Club, which is I read about Benjamin Franklin's history a little bit. His biography, right? So there's a mention of the Junto Club and then the founding of that from Benjamin Franklin. That's one of the reasons he started, right? It's a club he founded for mutual improvement, right? In 1727, it's almost 300 years ago. So, yeah. So, it was the purpose of the club was to debate questions of morals, politics, and natural philosophy, and to exchange knowledge of business affairs. So, yeah, it's nice scientific topic. So I think that captures very well what we want to discuss, right? Whenever we do this, right? So, I feel like that's pretty good. Thing, and then we can also, of course, as you mentioned before, that we can always delve more into the history as well, right? So it's very good. Yeah.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think basically, I miss from our lunches discussing sort of just current events generally. I feel like I, in a way, have just been in a loop of just working and oblivious to anything political or not immediately sort of related to my job. So
yeah. I think Franklin. They talk about a lot of stuff like current affairs, business, anything that news and stuff. And then actually one thing that I found very interesting, and there's a couple of things that came out of the Junto Club. There was a very one thing in the public library. actually the reason they come up with the library is that everybody, because they meet, every member of the club, they meet, right, every week to discuss, and they realize, hey, each of them have different books, right? So they want to have people bring their own books to share with members of the club, and that was the initial idea, and where the public library came from. Yeah, so I was like, oh, and this is very awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting fact. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the library that Franklin started from this actually still exists in Philadelphia. So maybe after this we can go visit sometimes.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. So I think you guys mentioned about the. Do we need to talk about the 4 pledges to start this?
Oh yeah. I think they're reasonably interesting. The pledges to become a member to the Junto Club.
Yeah, read them off.
Yeah. All right, number 1, I got this. Have you any particular disrespect to any present members? And you're supposed to answer, I have none. I guess unless you do hate someone who's already in it.
My answer is no comments.
Yeah, that's right. I played the 5th.
Oh man, off to a good start. 2. Yeah. Do you sincerely declare that you love mankind in general, of what profession or religion soever? Answer, I do. Also, soever, I have no idea if I pronounced that right. It looks like a French word.
Oh, yeah. I thought it's like so ever.
All right, delete this. I'm an idiot. It's all together.
You think too much. So yeah, my answer would be depends on the mankind, the person, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'm profoundly disappointed in mankind, but sure, we'll go with love.
I think you could just simplify this to, want good for humanity and, not discriminatory in general.
I guess I'm on the lower side of bigoted.
You meet the minimal qualifications. So congratulations. Yes. All right, number 3. Do you think any person ought to be harmed in his body, name, or goods for mere speculative opinions or his external way of worship? Your answer is supposed to be no.
I say no.
Again, it still depends on the person. Some person deserve to be harmed.
But is it? Well, it's asking or saying you don't think it should happen purely for their religion or whatever. So,
or speculative opinions.
It depends on the person and depends on the religion. Both.
I think this is basically kind of like the basic free speech concept, right? Agree that allow people to have their ideas and express them without harm, so that you can actually discuss things and try to figure out what's true.
Right. No. I am against cancel culture, I suppose. So.
That is true. And then 4th, do you love truth for truth's sake and will endeavor impartially to find it and receive it yourself and communicate it to others?
My answer is yes, but partially, because impartially is very hard to do. I'm not sure if I can do it impartially.
I don't know. The more I feel like the more time I spend in the sciences, the more I'm convinced there is no absolute truth.
That there's actually no absolute truth, or just that we can't know it? Because those are two different things.
That's fair. I mean, I guess, yes, the absolute truth based on just our limited perception or our individual perceptions, absolute truth may not be known to any individual.
I don't know. I feel like these questions capture that very classical liberal, old school scientist view of the world, though. The origin of democracy, debate will give rise to truth and a better society and things like that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think I would say these four pledges probably came from Franklin himself, right? And then I think he based the formation of the club, the idea of the club, also from previous club, like something called the Dry Club, from I think like by philosopher John Locke and all the other. There's a predecessor to this the Junto Club, right? So he also based it on a former club. So yeah, so these some of the language came from the older generations as well. Yeah, so that's a gigantic big chain of ideas. Yeah, so so yeah, so awesome. So this is I guess this is the momentous moment. I guess the Junto Club of us is officially formed. So did you look at any of the 24 questions that Franklin asked?
I mean, I did. Go ahead, sorry.
One of the second question is like, what news story have you lately heard agreeable for telling in conversation? I think that's a good place to start.
What news story have I heard? I mean, I guess I sort of have read 3 news stories recently for the purposes of this podcast, 2 of which I think are just will be immediate agreement among the 3 of us. And then 1 that is sort of in my personal area of interest. So the 2 once again, there was an opinion piece in, I don't know, some Pennsylvania magazine about autonomous warfare. And just because of our background, I couldn't just not bring it up, but it was just more like, is autonomous warfare, it was the typical, is autonomous warfare here, and should lethal autonomous systems be involved? And I mean, I don't know. I assume with the 3 of us that it will essentially be unanimous yes. But
should autonomous warfare be involved in what?
Like, should autonomous systems be involved in warfare? Like making lethal decisions.
Should robots be able to kill people in war?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure, actually. Yeah. I would say I'm not sure I know enough of the negative impacts that we have not considered, and I have not considered to, even though, our, Dr. Arkin, he's always the proponent of that, right? Of the study there a lot. But personally, I'm not sure if I have considered all the negative, ramifications that could come out of it, right? Even AI, right? Even AI has a lot of bias, right? Even currently, like a lot of like facial recognition is all trained on white people. So any kind of black person is the same, right? So I mean, just imagine like warfare in the future. If the training was wrong in the first place, just any people that looks like a terrorist, you just get shot, right? So.
No, that's actually okay. That's actually a good point. It actually brings in a second story I read, which because of my job was interesting. Which is AI in healthcare, right? So it's like, what does your training data look like, and is it representative of who you're actually applying it to? So, because that is something that, like, a lot of, so this particular story was about, like, can AI get rid of essentially infectious disease in hospital and things like sepsis and stuff like that? And, I mean, and I guess a big thing that I've noticed in the time I've spent reading a lot of papers about sort of AI in healthcare is just like, I guess just the blatant, like, misrepresentation of system performance. Like, just in the sense of, like, the data sets people are like, and part of it is because data in this, like, sector is, like, private. Often it's like companies owning the data, and it's like, so it can be hard to, I guess, get appropriate data. but it's like companies and labs and various entities just essentially just being like, my system works so well, and that's because it's like the statistics they're using like to classify system performance are just like flat out wrong for the type of training and testing data they have. So, I mean, so I guess it's just, but it is, this article in particular was saying if AI is going to be successful in healthcare, that in addition to like being able to trust the system, like one of the key things is having a system that will actually represent the population accurately. So.
Well, going back one topic then to the killer robots, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think most people's natural inclination is like, robots that can murder people, like that's got to be really bad, right? So much so that I haven't seen many nuanced opinions against it, just because I think everyone just kind of assumes there's an agreement. But I mean, the thing with a lot of this stuff, the key thing is AI doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be better than humans. Right. And so like, obviously you should test and try to fix any bias that is in AI for any reason, but like humans have a lot of bias too, right? Mm-hmm. So you can arguably have an AI system that has a provable bias, but it still is actually less biased than the majority of people doing this job instead, and would do better performance. Like when it comes to war in particular, I mean, just in general in the scale of history, like soldiers in war have, often committed gruesome crimes against humanity. Not saying that, that's what U.S. soldiers in modern times do, but, they're often put in like a super hard situation, right? Like soldiers in the Middle East have had to deal with, people who pretend to be civilians to try to like attack them. They have to be worried for their life and the life of like their friends who they've like trained with and worked with for like months, so this puts really an unreasonable position on them when in a robot, an artificial AI system doesn't have any fear, doesn't have any concern. So it's not even that hard to see it improving performance over what people do. I mean, drone strikes are often brought up as like a political hot topic, right? But if you look at I was actually looking at this a few weeks ago, like the stats of drone strikes over time in terms of like civilian casualties, right? Like targets being hit and killed who aren't the, actual people that are trying to be hit, have really been getting reduced as the technology is getting better. And drones aren't AI right now. They're still human piloted, but like arguably these technologies could lead towards much more precise war in general, only actually killing the people you intend to kill. Now, should we be killing those people is a whole separate other thing. Do they actually deserve it? Should we be involved in a conflict? But I think it's going to be hard to argue that AI can't provide a lot of help in this area.
Sure. No, I basically agree with that. The whole point of things like basic training is to like limit identity, like help produce soldiers that follow orders. And I mean, if a superior tells you to execute an order, I mean, you're going to likely do so. Or we've seen in the past, I guess people do so without, I guess, the ability to, be precise, or not being certain that they're executing the order on the right target or whatever. So I think with things like AI, as you said, sort of, I mean, AI won't have that stress. And if, I guess, governing bodies have some type of like the laws of war programmed in or whatever, then that's makes for a... And
even if like an individual machine is autonomous, there's always going to be like supervisory control, right? Like you're going to have, they're never just going to be like, hey, robots, go invade this country. We'll check in a month to see what's going on, right? People are going to be monitoring the situation, what's going on, so, maybe that's like the future of the military is officers go to, schools, and then they come out and then they lead, control teams of robots from behind a terminal, right? Maybe that's like the future of the military in 30 years. But so it's not, we're nowhere close to the end point of seeing like an AI system like this that would just be left to do whatever it wants, right? In the next decades forward, these things would still be supervised by humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess, question, the debate. I mean, I'm not sure. I think it's a good topic to talk about, but I'm not sure if it's the right debate to have. Because I mean, AI is just anything is just like a tool, right? It's any tools like can be useful and can be abused, right? So, and also I think I guess it's for any country's national security is to do it, right? To get it over. And because in the future, if you don't have enough population, soldiers, you can just build on this robot, just send it over, right? You don't like right now. China is have a lot more population. They can just send soldiers, right? But in the future, you don't even need a lot of population anymore to have a very strong military, right? Just remote. It became everything like remote work, right? Right now, everything is remote work. Remote warfare as well, right? So yeah. But anyway, what I found interesting is like Matt, you mentioned that a couple of days ago you were just like browsing and you were looking into the drone stats, right? I mean, what were you doing? Like why? I just want to know what motivated you to look into stuff like that. I mean, I would never think about like to look online and say, "Oh, I want to look up drone stats." Right?
All right.
So,
well, personal, to get personal slightly, I'm one of those people who sometimes gets mad and argues with people on the internet. So as one of these people who are like, Obama's a war criminal because he did like drone strikes and stuff, and I'm like, basically the point I was making is, I mean, it was basically I was annoyed with the argument that, using drones means you're like a war criminal or doing something bad, when what I thought and what the evidence I found seems to support is that drone strikes, if anything, have reduced civilian casualties and, excessive things. They're just simply, especially as technology is improving, there are more precise forms of warfare. Now, again, there's still the question of, do you there's some bad guy in the Middle East or some, that might be doing something bad. Should the U.S. get involved or not? Because getting involved has a lot of consequences, but just letting them do whatever they want also has consequences. So those are really hard decisions. But like drones themselves are a very useful tool. Yeah. So there's a lot of, and you see this a lot. If you're on the internet, you see people who are like, Obama's a war criminal, drone strikes. Like that's just like a meme that gets passed around, and it's dumb, and I don't like it.
But I see that a lot too, but I never look into it. Like, is it true, right? But what are you like that all the time? Like normally, like what? I guess what?
Well, I mean, that's not something I do all the time, but it's something I do occasionally.
Just curious.
Just like get into these like weird debates and arguments online.
So what kind of news source do you look like? Trigger those like Reddit stuff?
Reddit predominantly.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, and that's quite interesting because I guess I mean I look at these topics too, right? I just say, oh, okay, this is what they say. I just who cares, right? But you actually dig into actually this is true or not, right? So I found that very interesting. Okay. Right, Mike, do you do that?
I mean, no, I very rarely comment on any social media or internet posts. I will occasionally be the person that reads comments, like on, yeah.
But you don't look into the evidence and the facts, try to dig deeper, right? You don't do that.
I mean, I'll just generally listen to podcasts or something. I mean, if it's something that really is striking, I might look into a news story or something, but I won't. I generally won't.
Not news story though, but what Matt did, he's actually go into like getting data to support, like to either to prove this or disprove this, right?
Sure. No, I mean, I've looked into statistics but it's very, very rare. Like gun statistics and stuff I've looked into, but I would say that's about it.
Okay, yeah, and that's cool. I guess we should all do that more often, I guess. That's my point, right?
Yeah. Arguing with people online was the true purpose of Benjamin Franklin's Junto Club. He just didn't realize it at the time.
Oh, yeah, true. So, all right. So that was my question, right? The second question from the 24 question that Franklin said. So there's a few things that I think that business idea I found very interesting that I heard last week, which is something called, have you heard of Metro Mile?
Metro Mile.
Metro.
Oh, natural.
Metro.
Metro?
Yeah, Metro.
Oh,
Basically,
Okay. Well, I heard it right the first time. Okay.
I think they are going IPO pretty soon, like initial public offering. So basically, their idea is to something called dynamic insurance. I like the idea of dynamic insurance, which means like instead of like charging you monthly like premium, right? It actually gonna charge you like depends on how much you drive, right?
Mm.
So now the reason now they can do it because they can. I think once you sign up, they can send you something that actually kind of monitor how much you drive, like telemetry stuff, information, right? So they can monitor how much you drive. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's things that you can like plug into cars that can monitor the status and stuff, and they could probably just use that and beam it to a cell tower.
Yeah. So I just heard it last week. I said, oh, this is very cool. But then I go online, see where it's available. It's only available in few states right now, like California, somewhere West Coast, but not in Atlanta yet.
So I guess so their benefit would obviously be like, oh, we'll charge you less if you don't drive a ton, and then what they're hoping is that they're going to get these like people who are pretty low risk, to pay them with rarely having to like, actually pay out. The insurance company rarely have to pay out because these people don't drive. So I guess they're wondering if they can capture like a very safe portion of like the insurance pool and profit off them. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I think they talk about like in the future, like if your car is much safer, like if you instead of human driving, like Tesla, like autopilot, AI driving, it's much safer, and they should take that into account as well, right? As your insurance premium. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're upgrading your car to these increasingly autonomous vehicles, then I guess you would benefit on the insurance side.
Anyway, it's more about the company, I guess. I just find an idea of, this is something that I haven't heard before, and this is very a new way of doing things. And I just like, oh wow, it's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been waiting for companies like this, I guess, because if you think like I've always wondered, like, so in Massachusetts, essentially you no longer have like toll booths, right? Or like probably in most of the Northeast, there are no longer toll booths, and I'm sure it's spread across the country. And basically, so essentially toll roads you drive through, and they just take a picture of your license plate, and if you have an account with the state, they charge that account. If they don't, then they, bill you at your on-file address or whatever. And I've been waiting for like the time where essentially like you enter a toll road and it's like you exit that toll road and they take a picture of your license plate again. And it's like, oh, like in order to go from A to B, you had to be driving 85 miles an hour. Like, so, and you get like a ticket so I've been waiting for it's like insurance companies to take like unsafe information into account as well. Like, so basically it's like, oh, you speed like crazy, so we're going to raise your insurance rate. So.
Interesting.
But, no, that might be the future where every insurance company starts basically it's like, oh, you want to plan with us, we're going to like monitor your car and then like price you based on your driving habits. And
yeah, it seems very logical, so.
This company is Metro Mountain's going to normalize the idea, and then all the big ones are going to copy it, and our privacy will be gone. We'll never be able to drive anywhere without people knowing again.
Yes, if you do. But I guess, it just makes, speed tells, I think, a pretty big story. Like, you're constantly going, like, pretty slow. You're doing a lot of city driving, which is dangerous. If you're going way too fast, then that's another thing. So basically they want people who drive like basically 35 to 55, and that's about it.
Well, the original one of these were accelerometers basically, because I saw this like several years ago. Some insurance companies, basically you just put an accelerometer in your car and then it's like a safe driving bonus. There's like a commercial for it.
A speedometer, right?
What?
A speedometer?
No, an accelerometer.
Oh,
The
really?
idea is it's less important if you're driving fast than if you're like stopping and
Jerking.
starting. Like,
I see.
yeah, like if you're taking sharp turns, accelerating hard, braking hard, that would indicate you're doing things that are less safe. Well, like going up to like 70 on the interstate is not particularly dangerous, but if
Right.
but if you're smooth and controlled and predictable for everyone else, you're a lot less likely to, get
That's
wrecked.
fair.
I mean, predictability is one of the most important things for other people not hitting you. Obviously, someone could always just like be drunk or whatever, but so if you're not accelerating that much,
Right.
you're probably very predictable because all your changes are slow.
No, that's fair. Yeah. No,
Hmm.
you're not weaving in and out of lanes or something like that. Yeah. So I guess that's a smart idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea too. Yeah. But I'm assuming that Metro Miles could be able to get all those information in the future as well, right? Just, yeah.
They might, I mean, I don't know how much you looked into it, but they might also already be including that. Like, there's a metric for distance and then a metric for like safety, which they could use things like that. So
accelerometer is everywhere now, right? Every phone has an accelerometer, right? You can just say, hey, just ping information from your phone to my data center, right? Yeah. Anyway, so sounds good. All right. So another thing I heard is something. Have you heard of something called? I heard an interview with Charles Koch. He was talking about something called regulatory capture.
Mm.
Of that phrase.
Yeah. My dad rants about that semi-regularly.
All right. Why don't you? All right.
Educate me.
Here's my interpretation, my initial interpretation, and then Matt, you can probably explain more later in more detail. So basically, the example he gave is like if someone like giving a haircut, right? Like for someone need to go become a barber to actually give haircut to people, right? And they actually need to go to this licensed school to get a license to do that, right? Whereas but that's a hurdle, right? That's a hurdle for people to get what do you call that? Get money, get jobs, right? So that's really bad, right? For the general public, right? Whereas like engineers, where we just go to school and then we don't even need any license to design like AI and stuff to do and make a lot of money, right? So that's no hurdle for engineer, but that's a hurdle for like these regular trades school that people just want to go to specific trade, even like cutting hair. That's not, the worst case you can do is just, get a haircut, right? So that's the hurdle. I think it's my interpretation is the regulatory capture is the hurdle that government plays that for specific interest group that prevents other people from basically getting economic mobility in some way.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close. I think so. I guess in general, I would say, as far as I understand it, is like, regulatory capture is when like non-government entities use the government to place regulations and things that benefit them. And things like unnecessary occupational licensing is like an example of that, right? Although I guess I kind of doubt, I don't know, maybe they did. Maybe like, were haircut people like giving money to their local state legislators to be like licenses. But I've heard unnecessary occupational licensing is an issue that I see get brought up sometimes. It's not really a big thing, but there's some niche groups that say, hey, this is a problem because, as you say, it provides barriers to entry for people to access what's often are relatively these are jobs that sometimes can provide a reasonable wage, but don't require like a lot of education or super specialized skill set. So it's something that a lot of people who are, poor, lower income could potentially have access to, but these things like these unnecessary licensing kind of like restricts them. But like in more broad speaking, regulatory capture can be applied to, sometimes big companies will say things like, we should have a requirement for like a minimum insurance for something, which sounds good, right? Like, oh, big companies need to be responsible, but then, small companies can't pay, they can't afford to have this, $10 million coverage for their, new factory crane company, right? So just getting like off the ground becomes really hard. So, obviously there's a lot of industries where a barrier to entry is not always a government thing, but a lot of government regulation increases the barrier to entry. And it's not just like on a personal thing, but when you increase the barrier to entry, the ability for competing companies to come in, and do the whole free market thing where a competing company drives down prices, offers new innovative services, things like that, gets restricted. So yes, regulatory capture is an issue. It's probably unavoidable, honestly, but government should do what they can to like try to limit it.
What do you mean by why is it unavoidable?
Well, I mean, as long as the government is regulating businesses, what's the chance that businesses will not, like, no one will be able to like influence them to do a regulation that maybe benefits them more than helps the general population, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's an issue that you'll probably never get rid of entirely. I mean, that readjusting how our political system is funded and elections happen, and that's a whole different topic, could probably help a lot. But
all right, tune in next week.
That's a whole different thing. But yeah, regulatory capture, it's bad.
So what does your dad rant about it?
Well, I mean, my dad's probably more libertarian minded than me. And I think he kind of often uses as an argument that like government regulations in general are bad. So this is something you'll see from the right. They'll be like, government regulations are bad. And this is like one example of like why they're bad. Sometimes I see it pushed as like the reason monopolies exist is because of government interference. I've seen strong libertarian types make that statement. And a little bit there could be accurate because, again, regulatory capture can help restrict competitors from getting into a market. But that's dumb because in a completely free market, monopolies will happen very often. So it's not something that a monopoly is not only a function of regulatory, regulation from the government. And I mean, there's also a balance because like some regulations are good. And even if they have an unintended effect of restricting competition, sometimes they're still like beneficial overall. But there are indeed dumb regulations, like occupational licensing for jobs that have little to no risk to anyone.
Yeah, I see. It's not completely bad, like a lot of people say, like giving like the haircut example, right, the barber example. But actually, it's just people that you're just using it to attack it. But some regulation are good, right? So yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I just wonder if those types of regulations are maybe, I guess, becoming less and less necessary, just in the sense of like, I guess, just sticking with the barber example, like previously, I guess, sort of before the sort of internet and sort of, I guess, very common ways to review people and sort of hold people accountable with respect to like how, I guess, solid they are at their profession. Like, I guess this type of regulation gives some type of assurance that these people were at least trained in an agreed upon way, right? Whereas now it's like maybe that isn't as necessary just simply because like if they're a terrible barber and essentially cutting off people's ears, then you're going to find that out, via like a Yelp or some type of review service, right?
I do have insurance for you, right?
I do agree that I think it's less needed. I think there is I was looking something else up, but I think there is an argument made that these sort of things can be proactive rather than reactive, right? Like you don't have to wait till someone gets like screwed over or hurt to try to like then be like, oh, it turns out they don't know what they're doing. It's kind of like a proactive, like, let's make sure you can't get into this unless you know what you're doing. So what I would say is they might be less needed, but I don't think they're completely antiquated.
Yeah. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I think in the last few minutes, I want to end with something very, very lighthearted, right? So let's talk about 5 regrets of dying. So.
Wait, 5 regrets when you're dying, not like why you're dying.
5 regrets of dying. That people when they die, when they are dying, common regrets people have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Do you have this list on you?
Yeah, I'm fascinated with death, of course. So I always think about this. So, number 1, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not a life others expected of me. Right? Okay, make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. Second, I wish I had not worked so hard. Right. Second one.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably relatable to all of us.
All right. So the third one is I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. All right, Mike, you can express more.
I feel like I'm pretty good at that one.
All right. So the fourth one is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
Yeah. It's Junto Club.
The fifth one is I wish that I had let myself be happier.
Oof, that's a tough one.
Do people just not let themselves be happy? Like things are going well, but they're like, I'm not going to be happy about this. This is what I wanted, but I'm just going to decide not to.
Yeah, the concept is happiness. It's a choice, right? That's not the concept, right? I mean, I think most people when they die, they realize, oh, I can just choose to be happy. But actually, when they are living, right, they just like occupied with all the other stuff. And they don't realize they just say, hey, I choose to be happy, right? So, I mean, it might be hard while you are living, but when you're dying, you realize, fuck it, I can just be.
I'm going to push back on a couple of these just for fun. What was one of them? I wish I didn't work so hard. I feel like a lot of these seem to come from like, if you took relatively well-off developed world people and asked them what their dying regrets are. Because I feel like, the classic American immigrant story, they come here, they work really hard at some like shitty low-paying job, but they provide their kid like a better life who goes on to like go to college and be successful. I feel like they wouldn't look back and be like, damn, I wish I didn't work so hard. I feel like they look back and are like, damn, I'm so glad like I worked so hard. I was able to like improve my kid's life so much,
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I would say that it's, I guess, working at something you don't particularly find value in or you hate it or whatever. I mean, because like something that resonated with me that I think encompasses sort of a couple of these is like actually my undergrad like graduation speech or whatever. Like the guy who was the graduation speaker was like the speechwriter for Obama. And his speech was all about like don't try to be something, like be rich or be this or be that, but try to do something that you value. So because he's like, you can always be richer or be more successful, but like if you do something that you love, then I guess you'll always have value. So
yeah, I think some are working so hard and the regrets. I think the regret is not because they actually work, but it's mostly because instead of work, they did not do. But by working, they did not do the other stuff, like spending more time with their families, travel more, do other stuff, right? So.
No, I'm definitely not saying it would never be like a legitimate regret. You could obviously overwork when it was unnecessary, it wasn't for something important. I imagine it's kind of what Mike says. If you're doing something that's important with your work, you probably won't regret it. If you're just working because, you want to climb the corporate ladder, but you already are pretty comfortable and you're ignoring, your family to do it, then it's probably more likely you're going to regret it.
Yeah. So my question for you guys is, what are you most afraid that you might regret when you're dying? Like when you die, like what's the most regret that you try to avoid? I guess I would start, right? I guess my regret is not to live, not to live. I guess just there, right? Just to live, I guess, like to experience things and then to. It's kind of still hard for me to kind of articulate it, right? So, but I want to, I guess, to live a full life in certain ways, but I'm not sure what that means, right? And then when I die, and I'm afraid of regret, and I will realize I have not lived, right? So whatever that means to me, right, when I'm dying. But yeah, so also, I mean, going back to initially, in the beginning, the Mike's quote, right, from Socrates, Aristotle, right, to unexamined life is not worth living, something like that. So that's why I always try to examine recently I started examining my decision and stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, why did I make that decision and stuff like that? Anyway, so try to examine it a little bit. Yeah.
No, that's insightful. This is an incredibly deep personal question that I had not really considered before.
No, I mean, I'll just say I hope I have a few more decades to figure it out. But
that's true. Ideally. I don't know. I mean, right now in my current state, being very close to finishing my PhD, the only thing that comes to mind is like I'd be really pissed if I don't actually complete it because like I've invested so much time and I know I've had enough opportunity that like I could have done it. So I know like if I fail, I'm like this would be on me because I should have been able to. But this is obviously kind of like a short term, like where I'm at in my life sort of thing. Although I imagine if I failed to get it, even when I died, I'd probably be pissed off about not having completed it. But obviously on your life scale, there probably might be other things that are more important.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my thinking is just maybe in line with, I don't know, more the second or third one. I don't remember which one it was, which is more just, I guess, taking the time to sort of pursue things for you that you wanted to try. So, I guess, So, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, what do you mean? Can you repeat what you say?
I would say that I definitely have been in, like, very prone to get in a mode of like, okay, like here's like essentially the state of my life. Like, what's the next goal? So I guess taking the time to sort of just pursue things that purely for enjoyment, sort of in the moment, as opposed to sort of being very goal focused, I think is, something that I would probably regret at this point. So.
Regret that you are more very goal focused?
Yes, goal focused. So so constantly planning for the next long-term goal as opposed to taking, I guess, the time to sort of live in the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I've heard that related to like doctors and medical professionals because they also, they go through crazy amounts of schooling and then they do residency and it's like sort of like they're like always like, oh, I'll do this and then I'll live my life, quote unquote. But like, right. And then, happens so late, it's like you should step back and realize like while you're doing this, you should be living your life. You are living your life, whether you intend to or not. Right. So take the opportunity to do the things you want.
Yeah.
Not that goals are bad, obviously, but.
Yeah. One concept is instead of like taking like looking forward to retirement when you're like 60, 70, when you have no energy, you can't walk, you can't even probably have sex, right? So the idea to have like mini retirement, like once a year, maybe take a month or 2 months, like off, just like take a mini retirement in between when you have the energy to do stuff, Because when you are 60, 70, when you retire, you have money, you have time, but you have no energy, right, to do anything.
Well, that's why we need robotics, like exoskeletons or robots injected into us to fix us. So get working, Ship.
All right, that's our company next.
Yeah, that's right.
Now you just gotta find me a job that lets me take 2 months off a year because I do that happily. Like,
you are doing it right now, right? You are doing everything remote, right? So you can right now you could. Instead of living in the U.S., you could be in Mexico, right? In any other country, like on the beach somewhere, right?
It would be difficult to do my work on a beach in Mexico, I would say. Yeah.
So one trick is to do some kind of remote work, like virtual work, instead of like in-person office. That way you have more like freedom. And that's one trick that you can do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like the real thing about this, maybe it's different for other people, but the real thing for the vacation would be not having to work more so than, I mean, like going someplace else would be fun. I want to do more traveling, but like a vacation would be more about taking that time to do other things than just saying, let me go to some other place and then do my work there, instead of doing my work here, right? Like if I'm still doing my work most days, and then I just have a few hours at home at night to like chill, like that's not really any different.
That leads me to the second trick. First trick, get your remote virtual work set up. Second trick is to be more effective at what you do. So instead of working like 8 hours per day, you work maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, and then the rest of the day is all yours.
That would be very nice, but I feel like that's a little bit easier said than done.
Of course.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody will do it. But that is the second objective. You could be like, you can analyze your work, like how much you work, what you spend time on, right? That way you can be more productive, right? So that way, like, instead of a week of work, maybe you can just work like instead of 5 days, you can work like maybe 2-3 days, right?
Did you say so? Oh, sorry.
Well, no, I was just gonna say you don't subscribe to the fact that, as Elon Musk says, no one's changed the world with 40-hour work weeks here.
But I want to change the world with 4-hour work week.
The work week will be the change in the world he creates. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody should read the book called 4-Hour Work Week. Seriously, there's a book called that. Yeah. So that's one I just finished that book. It's like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. Very nice. Yeah, good tips on life hacking stuff. Yeah. So
you could summarize it for us, so we don't have to go bother reading it one time.
I've done it already. There was the get remote. Second, be more productive, and then the other stuff.
I'm not reading this book. That's
4-hour work week. That's how the author wrote it.
Yeah, it's the mindset. It's the idea, right? It's the idea. It's the mindset. How you implement it. Like virtual work and also like be more productive is one way of implementing it. But the principle and the idea is a little bit more bigger than that, right? So. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's a good place. I think that's all I have for today, I think.
Yeah, I was going to check in. You said you had about an hour, so
yeah,
you needed to get going soon.
All right, what's our wrap-up saying?
I don't think we have one.
Well, we can just end with a quote, right? Unexamined life is not worth living, something like that. I don't know. Something. Actually, no. Another quote from me is think inside the box.
That quote is very Shu.
Yeah.
It captures Shu's philosophy on life perfectly. And no, if anyone actually watched this, no one would understand, but me and Mike do.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Right.
And it's take a look inside the box before you look outside, right? Think outside.
Think
anyway.
Inside the box before outside the box. We'll see you next week.
Junto Club.